Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Hustling Through America. I told you guys that I was going to rebrand the podcast. So last week I kind of spent some time, especially with ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, all the AI tool to come up with a new name for the podcast. And then I also used AI tool to create me a logo for the podcast. Man, it's kind of crazy. Like in the past, you had to reach out somebody to create a logo or learn how to create, and now you can just give it a prompt like, hey, create a logo, something, and it'll give you like 10, 15 different ideas, and you can download. Life's easy now. Life is easy with the help of AI. All the jobs is gonna take. I can't believe I think the Trump administration is putting in I want to say like 500 million, but it could be $500 billion to develop like AI technology. First thing, I kind of like, why can't the private company come up with their own money, right? Why does it need to be subsidized by government? Secondly is like, oh, we're just putting this money in this AI, which is going to take people's job, and we are happily giving away right now and not even thinking or planning ahead of the time, like, hey, 5 years down the road, what are we going to do when AI is going to take people's job? Like, are we going to come up with a universal basic income to give to people? Like, how, if that's the case, are we just going to give like blanket, let's say $2,000 a month for everyone? Or how are we going to determine who is going to get, who is not going to get? I mean, all these nuances, I think it's about time we think through this, because maybe in some areas it's 5 years, and in other areas it might be 10, some 15. But AI is going to automate and take lots of people's jobs away. Of course, there's going to be some jobs, like it's not going to take doctor's job, or maybe it will, who knows. But it's about time people who are making laws and regulations start thinking this crisis that's going to come in future, what's a good way to address that, or what are some just ways to address that. Yeah. Lots of other things happening. I don't have anything in particular in mind, like specific topic that I want to discuss. Oh, one thing I did, man, after Trump took the office, if I went to any news feed, I mean, it's just about Trump signing this executive order or doing this, doing that. I mean, it's everywhere. Say what you want about Joe Biden's presidency, but I like the fact that the politics was not on my face all the time. Unlike now, I mean, I'm trying to remember 4 years of Trump's presidency, and it was like always there's something new, something is doing something, blah blah blah. I mean, it's again in my face. So I went out of my way today, and I've been doing it over the weekend to try to go and unsubscribe or unfollow any account that posts anything about politics. Like, I'm like tired of it. I don't want to see it. I want to see it when I want to see it. I don't want it to be thrown to my face And I decided that like that's good for my mental health. I don't want to be worried or reading through all these articles and be like, what the fuck is going on, you know? So maybe that's something you guys can do to unsubscribe, unfollow, and put up more of a like a timer, like, hey, 20 minutes a day I'm gonna read news. Rest of the time I'm not gonna even check news or look through anything, because it can be overwhelming, you know. Mental health over everything. That's kind of been my motto, and I plan to follow through it. Having said that, of course there's like a lot of other news. What's happening with all these plane accidents? There was one in DC, and then another airplane in Pennsylvania, and I think I read somewhere another airplane accident in California, and two of them were like smaller airplanes, like just one or two people, whereas the one was commercial airplane. Do like airplane accidents in US like happens all the time, and we only know about the big major ones, or what's going on, you know, like three accidents or two accidents back to back kind of looks like pretty odd to me, you know. Anyways, that's that. A lot of tariffs war going on right now, and we talk about tariffs as like a trade war. It's some sort of war between nations, and I'm kind of like, I don't understand why Trump is so obsessed about tariffs war. Like, he's the only one who talks about it. No idea, like, has he ever explained like why does he like it? Like understand like poor countries putting tariffs on goods imported from outside, because first thing, they don't produce those goods, okay, and secondly, they need to capture the revenue, right? Get some sort of income. The governments need money, and if the industry within that countries are not generating money, then they need to put tariff on goods that gets imported to the country, right? So in Nepal, like, I think vehicles are the major one I can think of where there is almost like 100% or 200% tariff. So something in India can cost, for example, $10,000, and the same vehicle in Nepal will cost like 3 or 2 times the cost, you know? Makes sense, because Nepal does not produce it, and the government needs to collect revenue to provide whatever services it provides, road, infrastructure, health, and they need to tax something. In this case, it just happens to be the goods that they import. Whereas that's not the case in United States. I mean, we have income, we have all kind of taxes, right? And then now all of a sudden, we are going to put tariffs on the goods. So the American folks, whatever they purchase, let's say for $4, now it costs $1 more, for example. Okay, let's do $100 from China, whatever they're importing, and I heard like, oh, it's going to be 10% tariff, so that's 110 now we have to pay. And they've not reduced like an income tax or anything, so we are paying whatever the current rate of income taxes is, and on top of that we are paying 10% for any goods that we buy that happens to come through from China. So we're paying this $10 additional and not getting any reduction in income tax. Like, What are they doing? Excuse me. Like, what are we doing if the goal is to, hey, we're gonna pay for everything with the taxes? Last week I was pretty much for 4 to 5 days like about to be sick stage, where I was taking like Tylenol and some allergy medicine. So like I had a fever, but I didn't really had a fever. I had a cough, but didn't really had a cough. But I was not feeling well in general. So I'm kind of coming back. Still, it's not fully healed, but I'm getting there. But yeah, what I was talking about. So the whole concept of tariff is like, okay, we're gonna put a tariff to the goods we import. But at the same time, we should be reducing something so the folks are not getting hammered with the tariff and also with the whatever the tax is, right? So right now, like once they impose the tariff to China for 10%, whatever I buy, whatever goods qualify for those tariffs, like I have to pay $10 more. Whereas my income has not increased $10 more because they have not reduced taxes. So I don't get it. Like why they need this extra money, or they haven't said like are they gonna do with all the money they are going to make us pay for the tariffs. And another thing is they're like, oh, the tariffs is going to help bring back jobs, businesses, whatever. Dude, none of the businesses are gonna come like for a year, for 2 years, or even they try. It's gonna take 3-4 years just to build a plan and see the effect of tariffs bringing back those jobs. But us paying more dollars, we'll see it directly. So I don't understand it. What is his obsession with tariffs? I mean, I don't even know like where did he get the idea from, and it's just like, oh, you're not gonna do what you want, tariff you. You're not gonna do what you want, tariff you. It's kind of ridiculous, I want to say. In another news, democratically unelected person Elon Musk is just going and like, oh, I'm deleting this. I heard last time I heard he got control of the U.S. payment system that processes, or U.S. Treasury payment system that processes like $5 trillion. I'm guessing that's a year number. That seems pretty huge number to be for a day, but $5 trillion a year. I don't know how I feel about him having access to that. Like, what's going on? Like, did we elect him? Or did he submit a resume and got hired for that job? And there's stuff going around Reddit like, hey, these are the individuals which are on his team, and this dude looks like 15, 16, probably they're in college. So let's say over 18, but nowhere close to 25. These kids are helping him to do all this. Like, where are the adults in the room, man? Like, we wouldn't let a country run by a 21-year-old, right? Like, I think you have to be at least 35-year-old to be president. Like, how are we gonna give access to these systems, which process like $5 trillion in a year, to this kid, and pretty much Elon, who's like another kid who never grew up, you know? So that's what's happening. This morning, before I unsubscribed everything, there's been a lot of talks of eliminating Department of Education. Oh man, I don't know where to even start. Like, what's the obsession with oh, we need to eliminate FBI, eliminate CIA, we need to eliminate Department of Education. Like, how dare our kids are educated? Well, how about we decide, like, okay, these are the things that the Department of Education does, and maybe some of these things can be given be back to the state, or let the schools decide like how they want to address it, blah blah blah. Instead of doing that, they're like, okay, we are just going to delete Department of Education. Can't wait. Like, I don't know if they can even, if the like Trump with his executive order has even right to do it, but he's gonna do it. What's going to stop him, right? Like, some of the things he's doing it, I feel like he's doing it so he can go back to his voters and say that I did it. Although in future, like with some of the court cases, like, okay, he can't do this, so it's halted or anything like that, but he can at least have that bragging right, saying like, hey, I did it, but it was the courts who stopped me. Kind of crazy. I mean, every day there's like a couple of things we hear. Oh, recently I heard like there is if you do taxes, and if you are below a certain income limit, like IRS has a free tool where you can file your taxes and stuff for free, federal at least. Initially, when IRS was planning to do it, like, I want to say, I don't know, like maybe 10 years ago, I don't have the exact date. The idea was that to help out people so they don't have to pay like TurboTax or anybody else to do like simple version of taxes, right? And especially TurboTax came along and be like, hey, don't worry about it. We got you. We'll build a platform and we'll provide you for the free. That's what in the past, when you heard like, oh, free TurboTax or TurboTax free, file your taxes for free, until you had to like go through so many links and hoops to get to that free link where you could actually file taxes for free. Most of the time, like even me, I was never able to find out until my friend pointed out you have to go to the IRS website, and then there's a link from TurboTax and other vendor which has the free tool. If you just go through the TurboTax website, you are never ever to get to that. So they were just advertising like, oh, file with TurboTax, it's free. File with TurboTax, it wasn't fucking free. You have to pay money. So I just got tired of that. I was like, you know what? We're gonna build our own tool, and if you are below certain income limit, I want to say like $75,000 or $80,000, you can file it for free, federal taxes at least. Guess what? I read somewhere that Elon Musk tweeted that is deleting that. Great. Like, how does that help people? Like, I don't understand it, man. What's his idea? Like, we should privatize the government? Is that what they're shooting for? Is that what the whole point of government, I think I talked about in my last podcast, is to provide services to the people, like roads, infrastructure, health, education, that everybody needs it. What happens when we privatize it? People who can pay, who can afford people who can afford only receive those services, right? People who cannot afford won't receive those services. So, don't know. Right now, I'm on a stage where I don't care. Like, I think not people, but let's not generalize. Where I'm coming from is that let them do whatever they want to do and let people find out what happens when you go around giving access to the people things they don't have access to. If they want to delete IRS free tax filing tool, let them do. And then people are gonna be aware, like, oh, the service that I was using for free is no longer anymore. And I think a lot of folks who voted for something like this, like, there is no way, there isn't any other way for them to know what they voted for unless there are things that directly affects them gets affected. Then they'll know, oh, the person I voted did this, or the person I voted and who he hired did this, you know? And then only like folks will understand. Otherwise, it just, if they listen to this podcast, they'll be like, oh yeah, and wherever he read that info, that's incorrect, because that's totally did not happen, right? So there's no way. There's something called FAFO going around in social media. Fuck around and find out. I think let them fuck around and let them find out, you know? That's where I'm at. Like, let them do whatever they want to do. All right, guys. In other news that I've been reading, see, like, even me unsubscribing and unfollowing so many news news accounts, like, I still know so much what's happening. I heard that Rubio is going to different countries in South America and negotiating with them all the immigrants they're deporting. First thing, what I want to say is, immigrants are deported every day. Doesn't matter who is in the office. Like, doesn't matter when Trump was in the office, when Biden was in the office, when Obama was in the office. Like, immigrants are getting deported every day. That's not a news. Like, maybe one party likes to talk about it when they do it in a loudspeaker, and other party wants to be hush about it, but it's happening. First thing. Second thing is that all these countries which are not wanting to take the migrants is due to Trump is using military aircraft to send those migrants. In the past, they used to just use commercial airlines to do it, and nobody had any problem. They would take back their citizens, they would take back the people. But Trump is using, his border czar is using military aircrafts, and that's the problem, or that's what not a lot of countries are happy about, using military aircraft. And this government, they want to like cut so much expenses. I don't get it why they're using military aircraft, which is vastly expensive to operate. Like, I think the number I read somewhere is like roughly 800,000 versus to like the commercial aircraft that would be like, just saying 80 people, let's say $1,000 person, that's only 80,000 versus 800,000 through this military aircraft. But who's gonna point that out, right? They're sending bad people away, so who cares about how much money we spend? But that's what they're against. And another thing that I heard, I want to say it's El Salvador. Let me just double check. Yep, it's El Salvador. So El Salvador president, what's his name? Excuse me. Naim Bukele, is that how you say it? He has agreed to take anyone who is deported. And he has also agreed to take, hey, if you guys don't want to keep those immigrants in United States, even though they are United States citizens or legal residents, we are more than happy to take those folks and put it in our prison. Like, what are we talking about? Are we going to send US citizens and legal permanent residents and imprison them in another country? Like, hey. And we are already hearing news about folks who are getting captured by ICE because they look in a certain way, because they spoke Spanish. Like, didn't matter they have United States citizenship, right? It feels like, hey, unless you are white in this country, you're not safe. Like, anybody can be deported and questioned, anybody can be captured, right? Think through this. Like, what if, like I'm saying, what if they just start throwing people at the jail? Like, oh, you were talking bad about me, let me put you in a jail and let me send you to El Salvador, where nobody's gonna find out what the hell is going on. And people are like, hey, yeah, it's good. It's, and a lot of people are not even backlasting. Like, this is just a recipe for disaster in future. Like, and how are you going to make El Salvador accountable for something like this, So, not sure what the F is going on. What are they thinking? But them just throwing out ideas of, hey, even the violent criminals who were born in this country, who are US citizens one way or the other, we might send them to El Salvador and put the jail in there. Like, if folks who got money get captured, like, they can get lawyers, they can do this, they can do that. But think about the folks who don't have that resources. Like, how are they going to fight the system? Like, nuts. So far, it's just nuts. I don't understand it. Like, I don't see anywhere like anybody talking about it. But I guess the white people don't have to worry because they are safe. And the rest of the folks needs to watch out because they might be here from 3 or 4 generation. But guess what? They look certain way. So they might accidentally end up in El Salvador. Who knows? Man, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, I read somewhere like some of the Native Americans were also getting captured by ICE. Like, I'm like, oh well, what kind of criteria they have? Like, if people sound or have an accent, oh, let's just capture them and question them. Oh man. So that's going to be fun. Looking forward to it. How that's gonna play out. How Trump administration is going to crack down on that. How our new Boris Czar is going to send how many U.S. citizens to the jail in El Salvador. So I'm looking forward to it. Probably there's going to be some lawsuits, but until that happens, and if they really want people out there, I mean, they can just lose the paperwork so nobody knows who is there, who is not there. There's a lot of ways they can make it happen. While I'm talking about that, I also thought about the Guantanamo Bay, the prison they created at Guantanamo. Now Trump has instructed to increase the size of that prison in Cuba to 30,000 folks. Like, what are we doing, guys? We are going to prosecute these people, and then sent to Guantanamo Bay prison, right? Far away from United States. So any news that comes out of here, or there might be not any news that comes out of there, or there might come like something once in a 6 months that might come out of there. Everybody probably forgot about things that were happening in that prison, right? I think there is a good serial podcast on Guantanamo Bay, all the prisons, people who were wrongfully captured and pretty much spent like 10-20 years there after 9/11, because hey, they looked like terrorists, they had a beard, they were Muslim, and they talked funny, so fucking they might be the terrorists, right? Like, what are we doing, guys? One thing with all this cost cutting that is happening, oh, we're gonna eliminate this, eliminate that. Nobody wants to touch the budget for Department of Defense, right? Like United States, like out of the total budget, I think I'm gonna say like 54 to 55% goes to military. How much is military budget? U.S. military. Sorry guys, I'm typing it out. Okay, so all right. So 2024 budget was total military spend was $842 billion, or 2024 defense budget was $841.4 billion. Yeah, so $840 billion, and it looks like almost 13.3 in 2023, 13.3% of its federal budget on national defense. And usually it's around like 15% is where it's usually at. But nobody's talking about cutting the defense budget down. Like, which war are we fighting? Yeah, I know like folks would talk about, oh, Trump did not start any war or anything. Did he really cut down budget during his first term? And first term the military, hey, if we're not fighting a war, do they need that big of a budget? Has somebody asked that question? And maybe it needs to be brought up, like, and we'll see in 2020 when they're setting the 2025 budget, or it's already been set, like, are they going to reduce the military budget? Because hey, Trump is not going to go to a war, right? If we are not going to the war, like, why the hell we can't cut something down? So like, they're looking everywhere to cut down expense, but they're not looking at the place which is the most expensive, where we spend the most in military, which is kind of crazy, right? They want to take away food stamps, which helps people who are in poverty to afford food, but nobody wants to talk about taking away one helicopter from military, or closing down one of the offshore bases that we have, and nobody wants to mention it. Nobody wants to talk about it. So there's that. I think that's all comes to my mind right now. I bet there's so many fucking news happening all the time. Oh, all the confirmation hearing. I don't know if you guys have watched, but boy, this Cass Patel, I don't know, bro. Like, sorry being judgmental. Why do you look like you're constipated? His face looks like he's always constipated. Hey, one thing for all the DEI talk they're doing, I'm surprised, Indians are everywhere, like Cass Patel, although Vivek Ramaswamy, they had to let him go due to the DEI. And now I'm learning like when they say DEI hire, they mean like anybody who is not white and male, and maybe sometime white and female. But if you don't fall into these two bucket, then you are a DEI hire. Like they're talking about, oh, we are going to hire folks based on the merit. I mean, we can start from the top. Trump's resume, like compared it to any of the senators, like I bet we can find a bunch of other people who are more qualified than him, right? Or any of his staff pick or any of his secretary. Like I bet we can find like more qualified person than Pete Hegseth. And these guys are talking about meritocracy, like, oh, we're gonna hire based on the merit and not on the DEI. What a fucking bullshit. I feel like I'm watching a circus, man, every day. Like something, it comes out of their mouth. I'm like, just go look at the mirror, bro. Like, what are you talking about? Ridiculous. All right, guys, that's all. That's a good 35 minutes. Like I said, I have kind of unsubscribed and unfollowed from a lot of news, but I have given myself 15 minutes to 20 minutes. Let's come on, 20 minutes a day to read the news and to get an idea like what the fuck is happening. Are we still living in the United States? Am I getting deported? Are we okay? Are they gonna cut? Am I not gonna get refund this year? Are they gonna cut taxes, or are they gonna keep talking about adding tariff? Right? Like we gotta know what the fuck is happening. But 20 minutes a day. After that, nope, we're not looking at it. Cause let people find out what they voted for, you know? And maybe, like I am wrong, maybe Trump is gonna do all these amazing things and our life is gonna come out so much better than it has ever been. And for that to happen, we gotta do whatever they gotta do. All right, guys, peace out. Thanks for listening. Bye.